Hi, welcome. This is the Parent Exchange, and today we have a really special episode. We're going to do a student spotlight on an online graduate and find out, just learn more about her experiences as an online student and how it helped her find her way through college and on to her career. And so our guest today is a special young woman. Miranda Threewitt is here, and Miranda is a graduate of Wyoming Virtual Academy, and she's a recent graduate of the University of Wyoming in Laramie, and her major and minors are pretty incredible, and I'll just have to read it because it's a lot. This young woman did a lot in her 4 years in Laramie. So her major was mechanical engineering, and her minor was in honors international engineering and astrophysics. And what is international engineering? What is that? What is mechanical engineering? What is astrophysics? Tell us about it.
Well, the mechanical engineering is of course, my major, so it's my primary focus, and it's kind of a mix of, some math, some science, some practical world applications, some creativity, just learning how things work and learning how to put things together and design things. And then international engineering is just like taking that a step further and kind of opening it up to the rest of the world and learning how engineering works in other parts of the world. And I actually took engineering classes in different countries to go towards that minor. And then astrophysics is physics in space.
Incredible. Yeah, you're just a smarty pants. So Miranda, and I'll just give you a little background. Her mother and I both served on the board for the National Coalition for Public School Options for many years together, and had many adventures or misadventures across the country as we advocated for school choice and for students like Miranda and Miranda's siblings. I love the Threewitt family because you have amazing parents that instilled a culture of learning in your family, and you all have used multiple options, which I think speaks to the fact that, so you have twin sisters and two brothers, and you've all used different types of education, models of education. And because, as we know, even within one family, kids are different, and you all needed something a little bit different in your education. And so I've just loved watching you all grow up, and to see how you're making your way in the world, and appreciate the hard work that your parents have done to get you all what you need individually as students. So shout out to Amy and Don Threewitt out there. I know they'll watch and they'll be super proud that we're having this conversation. But I really wanted to talk to you, and we've talked to a couple other online graduates, but I thought it was really important that we have this conversation now, because online education kind of got a bad rap this last spring, because the whole country, where before pre-COVID, maybe 1% to 3% in any given state that has full-time online education was online students in public education, a small amount. And then overnight, 100% of students became remote learners or online learners. And it was a rough, chaotic, uneven experience for so many students and their families. And I wanted to shine a light on the good things that can happen when distance learning is delivered by experienced, established providers, and that gives students like you everything that you need to succeed. So let's kind of like start at the beginning. Tell me about your early education. did you ever attend a traditional public school or the traditional setting? And, how did you end up at Wyoming Virtual Academy?
So I started out in a private Catholic school growing up in elementary school. And then we relocated to a different state, and we found that I went to traditional public school there for about half a year. And we found that our previous school put us several years ahead of where the public schools were there. So we decided just to look into other options and see, what was available to us. And that was right about when they were starting Wyoming Virtual Academy. So we went to all the, informational sessions and learned as much as we could about it. And it seemed to be a really great option, especially when, both me and my brother who started with me, we have such a variety of interests. We're interested in so many different things, and we like having the option to go explore all these different interests, both in school and outside of school. So so we ended up starting, and I stuck with it for 7 years, all the way through graduation.
Nice, wonderful. So what year did you graduate?
2016.
2016. Okay. And so tell us about just the online experience for you. What courses were you able to take, and, how did you manage as an online student? I know you were active in your community. So how did online serve you, to be able to explore all those interests that you just talked about?
Well, going into focusing on high school a little bit more, you have a lot of elective options, both electives for courses and also different clubs and groups that you can be in. So I ended up taking courses like a variety, anywhere from creative writing to audio engineering to just like all sorts of different topics that I never would have even thought you could, take as courses in high school. I also ended up taking honors classes and AP classes and building up all this college credit before I even graduated high school. And the flexibility of, doing school online gave me the opportunity to be doing so much in my community. I taught piano lessons all the way through high school. I was very involved in theater, very involved at my church, just so much going on. And I was able to do that and, kind of make my own schedule every day. And it really built a lot of independence and like self-motivation for managing my own education all the way through high school. And the support of the teachers was absolutely amazing. And, all day, every day, I could go ask questions, get help when I don't fully understand something, or if I'm interested in something and want to learn more about it. So it was set up really well to help me succeed and to help me kind of form my own education.
Yeah, you were pretty creative with your education, and you were in the community, like you said. Did you take any classes at the local high school as well, or participate in activities there?
Yeah, so starting freshman year of high school, I enrolled in the local school for, I guess you could say part-time, for just a few classes at a time. And I started out with music classes. Like I took choir all 4 years of high school and did a lot of theater at the high school. And then my last 2 years, I took a couple AP classes there as well. And they were the two that weren't available to me with WIVA at the time. So it worked out well because between the two schools, I had so many options for courses. So yeah, that was really great. It was great to have that setting in addition to the online environment.
Yeah, and I wanted to point that out because you were really blessed, and your mom and I have talked about the differences between how online is treated in Wyoming, funding wise, and the ability for students to kind of connect with their traditional public school system and community. You guys are in a really good place there, and there's a lot of cooperation. And unfortunately, we see kind of these educational turf wars in other states that unfortunately hurt students like you that, benefit from the cooperation from the two different systems in supporting you and getting what you need to reach your full potential. So lessons to other states out there: be more like Wyoming and cooperate. That it's great. It's great for students like Miranda and any student. So you were, obviously a very good student academically, on top of things, and a go-getter. And would you say that you're self-motivated kind of student? Did mom and dad really need to hover over you and kind of light a fire under you to get your schoolwork done?
No, I think I've always been pretty self-motivated, and they were there a lot to help me through like middle school and getting started with this new system. And of course, they were always there if I needed anything. But by high school, I ended up kind of being on my own schedule, and I always had that motivation to get things done and manage my time well and everything.
Yeah, I imagine for you, if you had to go back into the traditional setting, it might have been challenging because you were used to having that flexibility and personalization that you had online. So let's jump forward. So graduation from high school, did you get any scholarship opportunities because of your, the great academics that you had, and all, just you were such a great student? Did that serve you in that capacity?
Yeah, definitely. I had a lot of scholarships, all 4 years of college. One of the biggest ones was Hathaway, and WIVA did a really good job of, educating us about that and setting us up to get that all the way through high school, making us aware of what courses we needed to have done and different, testing requirements and GPA requirements. So I was prepared really well to get that. And then on top of that, I got some engineering scholarships, some honors scholarships. So yeah, and they were all academic based. So I got a lot of those for sure.
That's fantastic. And another thing that I think families need to realize is, even though you're online, the schools give you a lot of support on that, the counselors and the social emotional kinds of things. Oh, well, of course, the question always before we move on to college, though, is socialization. Obviously, you're well-spoken and articulate. But how'd you socialize as a online student? Were you home all by yourself, or, that's the big question.
I feel like it was actually the opposite. I was always out doing something, and I loved doing school at the library or at the local high school, in between the classes there, or at coffee shops. And yeah, because I was like so active in the community, I was always out. I never had a day where I was just home all day.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And also having the local high school, I got a lot of socialization there as well.
Good. Yeah, I think it's one of those myths about traditional homeschool students or online students that you guys are like locked away in a room and don't know how to communicate with the world. And it's actually the opposite. You're probably the most unisolated students because, generally our families, we make that socialization piece a priority. And so, you're taking music lessons and playing sports and joining clubs and all of the being active in your church, all these things that keep you out in your community. So you're online, but you're not isolated. So I love that. So high school ended and you ended up in Laramie at the University of Wyoming. How did your online education, was there a transition period? Was it rough? I think a lot of parents, even with my son, we thought, how's it going to be after 10 years online, having the flexibility to kind of learn at your own pace and then get thrown into the college setting, and it wasn't necessarily online. We always worry about what those big transitions are going to be like. Talk to us about, that freshman year and what you had to adjust to and how you made it work?
I actually feel like the transition between online school and college is so much easier than a traditional high school and college because, you know, in a traditional high school, you're there at a certain time, you leave at a certain time, you know, everything happens at school and then you have some homework that you take home. But the majority of the day you're in a classroom at school. Whereas college is set up so that you go attend the lectures, they're all spread out throughout the day. And I feel like, at least with my degree, so much of the work took place outside of the lecture. The lecture was more of a guidance point, but you do so much of the work outside of that. So it's completely on you. And you have to be, you know, self-motivated, you have to manage your time, and you create your own schedule around those lectures. So it actually, the transition was pretty smooth because it was very similar to how I had my high school set up. And right away, I jumped right in. I took like 19 or 20 credit hours my first year,
You're just
my first semester. But I was able to stay on top of it all. And I had engineering classes and music classes all kind of mixed together and all sorts of stuff going on. So and I think I did have an advantage to a lot of other students having had the online environment because I had all those skills already. And I was used to the independent learning, but you still have the support of all your teachers and you still have classmates you can go, you know, work with, but it's up to you how you manage that.
Yeah, I think a lot of college professors, they kind of figure out pretty quick online students because you guys are on top of it. I know my son, his freshman year was like, what is wrong with these kids? And it wasn't because they were bad kids, but they just had never been really masters of their own schedules and, you know, education. And so they kind of felt lost and needed a little more direction than he did as an online student. He knew how to manage his time and to organize his life to get things done without having somebody tell them, okay, it's 8:30 and now we're all going to do the same project. You didn't need that. He was a self-starter. So that's one of the advantages of online learning for college students. They come in a little bit more prepared to be let loose. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about, so, you know, you were busy in high school. What kinds of extracurricular or, you know, what kind of enriching experiences did you participate in at the college level?
Well, I did Society of Women Engineers, which was great to have all through my degree. The last year of college, I also did Tau Beta Pi, which is an engineering honor society. For the first couple of years, I was very involved in the music department, and I loved having that kind of break from, you know, the technical side of things. And sophomore year, I studied abroad with two different programs. One was a month long, and then the other was a semester long. And so I went to Italy for a month, and then all across Europe on my way to Wales, where I spent the semester and studied and took engineering courses there. So, and University of Wyoming has a great study abroad program. So that was an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, so they give you a lot of support when you're trying to figure out how to make that work within your major and everything. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. They have a really good staff that they're there just for study abroad, and they support the students really well, for sure.
Great. And so, what was your favorite thing about Europe? And you know, what does study abroad look like? I mean, obviously you're in a new place, and Italy, was there language barriers, those kinds of things?
Yeah, so in Italy, I was with a group from the University of Wyoming, and it was a University of Wyoming professor who works from Italy. So he lives there, he has a wife there, and he is fully immersed in, you know, fluent Italian. And so he like taught us so much about Italy and about the culture and history and science and all sorts of stuff. But it was great because he is a local. So, you know, he knows where to go, he knows what to show us, and he's very passionate about it. So I absolutely loved that program. And it was good to not be completely on our own since none of us knew Italian. And then, yeah, and then in Wales, there, you know, there is, everyone speaks English, but it's still a different culture, and it's still, there were a lot of opportunities to go to different countries, either through the school or on our own. And also just being in a different country's education system was interesting, because I think there's both advantages and disadvantages to ours and to theirs. And it was interesting to see the differences of people getting the same degree in a different country, and also like learning from professors who aren't from the US and kind of hearing their experiences and their professional views and academic views. And yeah, it was very eye-opening.
Nice, very good. What an incredible opportunity to be able to do that so young in life, and get that experience and learn more about your field from an international perspective. That's incredible. Internships, you got towards the end there, and you know, when you started thinking about career, what kind of intern opportunities did you have?
So I ended up getting an internship with Raytheon Space and Airborne Systems. And I got this internship from I was at a conference for Society of Women Engineers. And they have one of the largest, or I think it actually is the largest, STEM job fair in the country. So I got a lot of exposure to so many different companies and so many different, you know, job opportunities. And yeah, I was offered an internship with Raytheon in Mississippi. So that's what I did last summer, and working as a manufacturing engineering intern.
And that experience, what is it? Are you just shadowing people, or do they actually give you projects to work on? What's that look like for those of us that are not STEM driven, or that is not our gift? Tell us what that's like. What did they have you doing as an intern?
Yeah, so they ended up giving me a lot of individual projects. So I was working on my own on these different design projects and 3D modeling and 3D printing and things like that. And so it was nice because I got to work on my own, but I also got a lot of support from other engineers and from other people I worked with. And all the interns were grouped together. So even though we were working on separate projects, we had kind of that collaborative experience of working with each other. So that was really good. And it was very educational for the differences between the classroom and, you know, the professional environment, for sure.
Did you feel prepared? Did you get in there and find out, oh, I need to learn a little more? Or how was that experience?
It was really good. In some aspects, I felt really prepared, and in others, I felt a little less prepared, just because, you know, it's different being in a classroom environment versus a work environment, and getting those like practical real world skills over the book skills. But I mean, I also kind of realized that both are important and both should be valued for sure. But it was definitely showing kind of the difference of being in the workforce versus being in school.
Very good. And so, so you graduated this past May. Did you even get a graduation ceremony in this COVID world we were in this spring?
No, they did an online ceremony, but I ended up just celebrating with my family, and we went to the mountains.
Well, that's not too bad. That's not too bad, but what a shame. You've worked so hard, and to not get that opportunity to walk across the stage. And I know your parents would have loved to see that. But I think you've proven that you kind of roll with the punches and make the best of whatever situation that you're in. So job opportunities. Did you have a job waiting for you right after graduation?
I did. I was actually at the end of my internship last summer. They offered me a full-time position as a manufacturing engineer in Mississippi, working at Raytheon. Well, they just merged to another Raytheon Technologies. So yeah, so that's where I am right now, working as a full-time manufacturing engineer and loving it.
Incredible. So before graduation, you were ready to go. You had a job lined up.
Yeah, I was all set. I've known since a year ago that this is where I was going to be.
Incredible, incredible. I don't know. Can you even think about if you hadn't have had that online education background? I, I think you probably would have blossomed wherever you were at, but um, do you think it set you up for success?
Definitely. And I think it gave me a lot of opportunities I wouldn't have otherwise had. So I could still, I could still get through high school, get through college, get a degree, but it gave me these opportunities to explore all these other interests, all these other hobbies, all these other, you know, opportunities in the community and even academically getting all those credits. And all my minors in college, I wouldn't have been able to do if I didn't have all those college credits already set up. So yeah, there were, in a lot of ways, it set me up very well.
Yeah, it's amazing. And uh, so, I think the lesson here is, you know, you had the opportunity to learn in the environment that fits you best.
Mhm.
And isn't that what we want for every kid? Not every kid is gonna, be an astrophysicist. But you all have passions and things that really drive you as people, individual whole beings, human beings, and we should be nurturing that. And how lucky you were to be able to have that opportunity, to have that school choice when you needed it. And I know your mom fought hard. uh, I seen her in action over the years, fighting for her kids and fighting for kids all across the country, in Wyoming and across the country, to get the same opportunities that you have had, Miranda. So I'm grateful to her, and I'm grateful to you because you have always lent your voice when there was a fight in Wyoming or just needed to share more information with policymakers or people in the community there in Wyoming. You were always willing to share your experiences, which helped a lot of students. Before we wind this up, talk a little bit. What advice would you give to parents out there who are in this particular group? We have a lot of parents. We did a little polling, and the majority of them are going to use remote learning opportunities provided by their school districts. So these aren't schools that necessarily were set up like a Wyoming Virtual Academy, a K-12 school. What advice do you have to these families that are kind of being forced into it? And, what do parents need to do to support their students to help them be successful?
Well, I think that during the initial transition and kind of getting used to this new education environment, it's really important for, parents to be very active in, being involved in their kids' education and being involved in their schedule, their time management, their, what are they working on when, and just kind of helping them out getting used to that because it's completely new for the kids as well. But then if they start developing this ability to kind of be working on their own, setting their own schedule, or just, being on top of things a little bit more, I'd say let them do that because it's a really good skill. And it's really good for them because I think it helps you care a little bit more if you're taking the initiative in what you're learning and how you're learning it. And also, I would encourage parents to, show kids that there's a lot of opportunities when you're in an online environment. There's, the World Wide Web is full of so many different, opportunities and so many different educational tools. And then also just having that flexibility and being able to, be in different learning environments. And I'm sure the majority of the time, you'll be at home, but you do have the opportunity to be kind of flexible in that sense as well.
Yeah, it's really an opportunity, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is something new, and there's definitely room for growth and opportunity in this new educational climate. It's challenging times, but with challenges come opportunities. For your fellow students, those students coming up behind you who may be feeling some trepidation about another season of remote learning, or, and the interest and growth in these full-time online schools has also gone up. Depending on what state you're in, some states are seeing a 3%, 300% increase in interest and enrollment. So there's a new crop of students like you entering full-time online schools. What advice do you have to students to help them make the most of it?
For students, I would say that it's really important to stay on top of things, and because you aren't in the classroom environment, so a lot of it is up to you, and getting help is really important, because if you're not in a classroom, you can't just raise your hand and have someone come over and help you. You have to go and seek out that help. And, most of the time there's really good support available, but you're going to have to ask for it. So, and there's also, that could be through the teachers, or that could even be through, kind of searching out and learning things on your own a little bit more, but definitely like getting help on topics you aren't as comfortable with, because then things might get ahead of you and you might be a little bit behind and you don't want to be stuck behind. So definitely just staying on top of everything, and also just pursuing your interests, because you have the ability to go and, find out more information about something when you're learning about it, because you have that, flexible schedule and you're able to go pursue things like that.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. And I think some students have been conditioned that, when you raise your hand in the classroom, or you don't want to draw attention to yourself, or, you don't want to be in imposition, and your online teachers, your teachers, they want you to call. They don't want you sitting at home struggling and being frustrated. So communicate. That's excellent advice. Be proactive, communicate your needs. And I think, students will be in a good place. If they just practice those two things, I think they will do well. So Miranda Threewitt, I just want to say thank you, and how proud I am of you. I'm not your mom, but I'm a mom, and I love your mom. And so we are very proud of you, and just all your hard work and your dedication. And I wish you all the best with Raytheon. They are so lucky to have you. And I was going to have you tell us about your job, but Miranda's job is like top secret. She's got a security clearance. So we're not going to talk too much about her job, but just know that she's doing great work, and just really out there going for it and pursuing her dreams. And so we're excited for you and what the future holds, and wish you all the best in Mississippi. I'll be posting this. We're recording this on a Saturday because Miranda's busy. She's a working girl. So we'll post this on Friday, and in the thread, if you have any questions feel free, put those in there, and I'll get them to Miranda, and I know she'd be happy to answer any questions from parents or students about her online experience and everything she's done since then. So thank you all for being with us here on the Parent Exchange, and we will see you next week. Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, hun.